does great client service look like? You should be getting great client service from your boundary surveyor. So how do you know if you are? What does it look like? Before we answer that question, let's answer this other important question. What is great client service? What does great client service mean? In my mind, great client service means four things if you're a land surveyor. Number one, it means that you put the client's interests ahead of your own interests, right? So if you're in a situation where you could benefit, but the client would be harmed, you don't do that. You make sure that the client benefits before you do. Number two, you go beyond the requirements of your written scope of work. So you deliver a little bit of extra. I had a really great lesson from my dad, Randy, about that. When I was young, he bought us a little outdoor vacuum cleaner, and he took us around to clean parking lots, earn a little bit of money. And one of our very first jobs, we get done cleaning the parking lot at this gas station, and my dad handed me a bucket and said, "Go over there to that little picnic area and pick all the cigarette butts out of the gravel in the picnic area." And I said, "But Dad, that's not what we're getting paid for. We were getting paid to vacuum the parking lot." And my dad said, "Son, you always do a little bit of extra that your client doesn't expect." So what a great lesson from my dad, Randy. So go beyond the requirements of your contract. Number three, you look for the opportunities to save the client money. So many times as a consultant, especially as an expert consultant or a professional consultant, the client's trusting you. If you tell the client they need A, B, and C, they're going to assume they need A, B, and C. And many times as a client, you get in a situation where maybe the client doesn't need B, but you can get paid to do B for them. And so in that situation, it's a little bit of a ethical conflict there, ethical dilemma. If the client doesn't really need B, you don't do B. So you look for opportunities to save your client money. And then finally, number four is you spend your client's money wisely. And that's a little bit similar to number three, but not quite the same thing. So, you're looking for opportunities when you do have to spend the client's money. You're looking for opportunities to do that in a wise way. You treat the client's money like it's your own money. And that doesn't mean you're looking to cut corners or cheat people or get the cheapest thing you can get, but you're looking for value, right? Value for your money, and you're trying to get good value for your client's money. So those four things are part of what I believe makes up great client service when you're a boundary surveyor. So if you're a boundary surveyor, why do this? Why provide great client service? I'm going to give you two important reasons. Number one, makes good sense for your business, right? You provide really great client service. You're going to get repeat clients. Your clients are going to recommend you to other clients. And number two, it's just the right thing to do. It's the way you want to do business, whether anybody's watching you or not, or whether anybody realizes it or not. It's the right thing to do. So it's another good reason you want to provide great client service. So I want to give you a couple of examples of what great client service looks like. I'm actually going to give you 5 examples. These are all things that have come up in the last 2 or 3 months for us here at Redefined Horizons, opportunities where my team had the ability to provide great client service, and they did that. So I want to explain not only for prospective clients of my team, but for other boundary surveyors and real estate professionals, what does great client service look like? This is what it looks like. I want to give you some examples. So I'll give you the first example. We were trying to get a subdivision map finalized and filed for a client that we had, and because of COVID-19, nobody was in their office, and so we needed to get signatures on this subdivision map. And one of the signatures we needed was the bank. The bank had a loan out on the property, and we needed to get the bank's signature to file the map. And so the officer of the bank that we needed the signature from was about an hour and a half away from our office, almost 2 hours away from our office. But the officer at the bank said, "Hey, if you bring the map to my house, I will go ahead and sign it for you, even though I'm not in the office." And so we told our client, "Don't worry about this. We're going to have one of our survey techs take these map sheets up to this other city, and we're going to meet the bank officer at his house. We're going to get the map signed." The client said, "That's great, thank you." So then the next day The survey tech's on the way to the city, and we get a call from the title company. They say, hey, you got to make sure you get that signature notarized. And so now we're scrambling. So I called the client. I said, hey, we need to get a mobile notary over to the house to meet the survey tech and the bank officer. The client said, okay, yep, let's get that done. They said, tell us what we need to do. Said, don't worry about it. We'll take care of it. Got on the phone, found a local notary that would run over to the bank officer's house. Got the map signed, got the signature notarized. Now, none of that was in our scope of work. Our scope of work was to do a parcel map. That was it. I could have told the client, hey, client, this is your problem. Figure out how to get that bank signature. Figure out how to get it notarized, right? But that's not what we did. We went beyond our scope of work because we were aware that the client was trying to accomplish a goal, and that's really important. The second example I'll give you is we're working on another subdivision, and this client owns his own small business, a little manufacturing company. He's a very busy man. And we had gotten done with some initial work on the subdivision, and we were getting ready to prepare the kind of the first stage application for the subdivision. And because of the city requirements, we needed some work from about, I can't remember if it was 4 or 5 other consultants. And so the client asked us if we could kind of manage that work, put everything together for him. So we got proposals from all the other consultants, and the cost was significant. It was in the neighborhood of about $40,000 to get all this work done. And so I called the client. I said, hey, we've got all these proposals together, but it's a significant amount of money. I've reviewed the proposals, but I would like to sit down with you in person and go through each of these proposals so you understand what these other consultants are going to be doing and why we need to do it, how much it's going to cost. So he said, no problem. He said, do I need to come out and meet you at your office? I said, no, I know you're a busy guy. We will drive to you. He's about an hour away. I said, we will drive to your business. I come out. I'll bring all the papers. We'll sit down and we'll go through this with you. He said, okay, that would be great. We made an appointment. Show up the day of the appointment, about 10 minutes ahead of time, and his secretary comes out, his administrative assistant. She said, the client knows you're here. My boss knows you're here, but he's in the middle of another really important phone call, and he would like to know if you would wait for him. So I said, sure, we'll wait. My partner and I said, we'll wait for him. So we waited there for an hour in his office, got off the phone, rushed us into his personal office, said, I'm so sorry you guys had to wait. Said, no problem. Sat down with the proposals, walked him through each proposal, answered all his questions, right? Got his buy-off to move forward with the work, packed up our stuff and left. Now, a lot of companies wouldn't do that. They wouldn't go out to a client's business and meet with the client, wait an hour, and then meet with the client. But I wanted to do that for him. This was a really important decision-making point in his project, the life of his project. I know he's very busy. He's trying to run his own business, and that was an opportunity for my partner and I to provide great client service. Here's another quick example. We talked about spending the client's money wisely, not spending their money unnecessarily. So on that same project for that same client, the city said, hey, we need you to do a geotechnical report. And the geotechnical report was expensive. It was more than the cost of the survey. It was about $20,000. And so we did some research into the city code, land development code, and it turns out the city has the right to waive the geotechnical report. So we asked the city, would you waive the geotechnical report? They said, no, we're not going to waive it. We said, why not? They said, because we don't feel like it. So, all right. So I went and explained to my client what was going on. I said, look, I think we should do a little more research. He's got an attorney on retainer, so maybe we should talk to your attorney. Let's push back on this a little bit. I think the city needs to give us a better explanation for why they're requiring the geotechnical report. So I'm not saying that there isn't a good reason, but they haven't given me a good reason yet, and it's a significant amount of money for you to spend. And we need to make sure that if we're going to do this, the city has a good reason for the requirement. And he agreed, and we came up with a plan to move forward. So there's an example of, again, not under contract to do that, but I'm trying to look for opportunities to save my client money, spend his money wisely. And, the city, my client is owed a reasonable explanation as to why the city's going to require a geotechnical report in this particular case. I'll give you another example. This is number 4. We had a subdivision project we were working on, and we got the specific plan for the parcel. It was in a specific plan. It's a land use tool that we have here in California, and the specific plan lo and behold, showed that the city wanted to punch two 84-foot wide right-of-ways through our client's property as in the future as part of their planned transportation infrastructure. This was not a huge parcel. It was only about 10 acres, and two 84-foot right-of-way strips were going to have a significant impact on what could be done with the land. So we went out, we met with the client, we showed him the specific plan, we explained what was going on, and we told him, you know, we want you to be aware that there's a very real possibility that the city's going to ask for this right-of-way when we go in to subdivide, and that's going to have a huge impact on your project. And we don't know for sure, but there's a good chance. And what we didn't want to do is not tell him that. Have him move forward with the subdivision application, spend money on that, and then find out that the city was going to want that huge chunk of his property and have him walk away from that subdivision after he'd spent all that money. Now, there was a possibility when the client realized that the city was going to, there's a good chance the city was going to require that right away, that he was going to decide not to move forward with the project, and that meant I was going to lose the work on the subdivision. But again, you go back to that list I gave you, trying to put the client's needs ahead of my own, right? So full transparency with him. Wanted to make sure he understood that there was a strong possibility that the city was going to ask for those right-of-way dedications. Okay, final example. I had a client. There was a local government agency that was coming in. They wanted to acquire some property from this client, and it was kind of a mess. There was encroachments on both sides, and she needed to get a little bit of land from them for a well, and they wanted some land from her for their infrastructure. And so the two parties agreed, my client and the local government agency, that they were going to do kind of a land swap deal. And I got a call from the representative of the local government agency, and they said, hey, we want to move forward with this land swap. Do you have a cost? And I said, yeah, I have a cost. And I gave them the cost, and they said, okay, that's great. When is your client going to pay for that so we can get going? And I said, well, wait a minute. This was not a small cost. It was thousands of dollars. I said, hold on. I said, I don't think my client should have to bear this whole cost. I said, it's a land swap, and you guys should split the cost. I said, I'm happy to do that work. I said, if you want to hire a surveyor to do the work, you don't think I'm giving you a reasonable price, you want to hire your surveyor and have my client split that cost with them, that's fine. But either way, whether I do the work or another surveyor does it, I think there needs to be a cost share here. It shouldn't be 100% on my client. Of course, the local government agency didn't want to hear that. But I went back to my client, told her what happened, told her she had an attorney on retainer. I told her, talk to your attorney. There needs to be a cost share. So her and I talked to the attorney. The attorney said, Landon's absolutely right. There's no way we're going to let you pay for this. The agency needs to pay at least 50%. Again, there's a situation where all I was under contract to do on this, my contract was to do a boundary survey. That was it. It wasn't to negotiate with the local agency. It wasn't to coordinate with her attorney. Now, I was doing some of that, right? Because I wanted to go the extra mile, and I wanted to look out for my client's interest. I didn't want her getting pushed around by the local government agency. And I know that she appreciates that. So that's what great client service looks like. So if you're a client and you're not getting that kind of service from your boundary surveyor or your other real estate professional, you might want to think about getting a different client. And if you're a young boundary surveyor, I encourage you to remember those 4 rules. Put the client's interest ahead of your own. Go beyond the requirements of your contract. Look for opportunities to save the client money and spend your client's money wisely. Remember those 4 rules. Give your client great service. They're going to appreciate you for it. They're going to thank you for it. And you're going to be better off in the long run.